After the release of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, additional content was released throughout 2017. Along with some supplies and a Nintendo Switch shirt as a purchase bonus, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Expansion Pass includes new story content, gameplay challenges, and equipment across 2 waves. Without further ado, let's go over The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Expansion Pass. DLC Pack 1 was released in June 2017 and adds a new challenge called the Trial of the Sword. After Link retrieves the Master Sword, a voice tells him to visit the Great Deku Tree. He explains that Link can enter a trial to prove he's worthy of wielding the blade's true power by returning it to its pedestal. There are 3 sets of trials, and completing them gradually increases the Master Sword's attack power and durability. For each trial, Link starts with nothing and has to find new equipment and materials, but he retains his current health, stamina, and active effects from cooking. He also can't use any of the champion's abilities, but he still has access to the Sheikah Slate's runes. Each trial consists of numerous floors with enemies, and defeating them unlocks a travel gate to the next floor. There are also floors with mini-bosses, and these are usually followed by a rest floor with equipment, materials, and a cooking pot. DLC Pack 1 also includes new side quests for equipment, including the travel medallion that acts as a placeable warp point, and multiple clothing items that reference earlier games. The Phantom set increases Link's attack power, Tingle's outfit increases his movement speed at night, the Korok mask reacts when a Korok is nearby, Majora's mask makes it harder for certain enemies to detect Link, and Midna's helmet reduces the damage from Guardian's attacks. There are also 2 new features. The Hero's Path shows Link's route over the previous 200 hours of gameplay. There's also a new difficulty option called Master Mode. In this mode, enemies can regenerate health, and most have been replaced with stronger variants. There are also additional enemies in certain locations, like enemies on floating platforms throughout Hyrule, and a Lynel on the Great Plateau. Overall, DLC Pack 1 is somewhat uneven. Some of the new equipment is very helpful, but the new challenges can be too difficult or frustrating. The Trial of the Sword is relatively straightforward with careful planning and inventory management, but the changes in Master Mode exacerbate many of the flaws with the combat and durability system of the base game. DLC Pack 2 was released in December 2017 and features a new storyline called The Champion's Ballad. After freeing the Divine Beasts, Princess Zelda tells Link to return to the Shrine of Resurrection. By placing the Sheikah Slate in its original pedestal, he initiates a trial involving a weapon called the One-Hit Obliterator. After he completes this challenge, the weapon shatters and reveals 4 monuments throughout Hyrule. Using hints from the monuments, and songs from a Rito bard named Cass, Link sets out to complete trials in each region to learn more about the champions. During the first part of the Champion's Ballad, Link has to use the One-Hit Obliterator to defeat enemies and complete 4 shrines across the Great Plateau. This weapon defeats enemies in 1 hit, but the damage dealt by other equipment, like bows and runes, is unaffected. When wielding it, Link's health is reduced to a quarter of a heart, he can't unequip it, and it has to recharge after a few uses. Each monument features aerial photographs of specific locations, and Cass's songs provide hints for how to reveal shrines in those areas. Tasks include going through rings within a time limit, defeating enemies or mini-bosses, and solving environmental puzzles. Instead of spirit orbs, completing each shrine awards a Divine Beast's emblem. After collecting 3 in a region, Link can go to that Divine Beast and use the emblems to enter the Illusory Realm, where he has to refight the corresponding Blight Ganon with preset equipment and items. After defeating each one, Link witnesses a memory of the corresponding champion with Princess Zelda, and the recharge time for that champion's ability is reduced. After defeating every Blight Ganon again, a final trial is unlocked at the Shrine of Resurrection. Similar to the Divine Beasts, Link has to activate a Guidance Stone to obtain the dungeon map, and control over the central gear's rotation using the Sheikah Slate. There are also 4 terminals that must be activated to unlock the door to the boss. After completing the final trial, Link receives an additional rune. This summons the Master Cycle 0, a motorcycle that uses materials as fuel. Like in DLC Pack 1, there's also new equipment that can be obtained through side quests. The Royal Guard set reduces the amount of stamina needed to perform a charge attack, the Phantom Ganon set disguises Link from skeletal enemies, improves his sneaking ability, and increases the damage dealt by bone weapons, Ravio's hood increases his horizontal climbing speed, Xant's helmet makes him unfreezable, and the Island Lobster shirt provides heat resistance, and increases the speed of rafts when using a Korok leaf. There's also an ancient bridle that allows a horse to dash 2 more times, and an ancient saddle that teleports a horse to Link's location when called. For the most part, DLC Pack 2 is enjoyable, but it has a few flaws. The difficulty is somewhat uneven, especially with the one-hit obliterator at the start of the trial. While the Master Cycle 0 is an interesting reward, its usefulness is somewhat limited, since it can only be unlocked after completing most of the main story. Overall, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Expansion Pass features many worthwhile additions. Even though I don't enjoy Master Mode, I still like the Trial of the Sword and the Champion's Ballad for their unique challenges that iterate on the base game's concepts. As a fan of these characters, I also enjoy the additional story moments with Princess Zelda and the Champions. While it's not essential, I still recommend the Expansion Pass for fans of the base game. With that, I've now gone over almost every mainline Zelda game, but I've decided to take a break from reviews for a bit. At the time of this review, I finished Tears of the Kingdom recently, and I'm still in the process of completing it. To avoid burnout, I've decided to postpone the next review until early 2024. With that being said, thank you for watching, and when I return to the series, I'll be diving into The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.